There's a saying about modifying a motorcycle. There's one guy that had this attached to his identification on a forum. The saying, no mod goes unpunished. It couldn't be more true. Now, on the Harley, something as simple as an oil cap right here. Over the past 6 months, I've noticed when I had this brass cap on here, this brass replacement cap, over the past 6 months, while I had the brass replacement cap here to match the front, I noticed that there's oil on the pipe here and on the oil container and even other parts of the bike. So something was ejecting forward. And I'll clean it up, and I didn't know if I put too much oil in, so I took a little bit of oil off, tried it again, got an oil change. It just kept happening. So I put the old one back on, and we'll see after this ride. I'll give it the beans a little bit, and we'll see if it's got any spray on it, or if it's come from somewhere else, but I don't think that's the case. But something as simple as this, I mean, the piece wasn't cheap, looked well engineered, had a triple seal structure, 3 sort of rings or outpouchings from the longer gasket does it affixed to the base of the brass, similar to this guy here. But even as simple as something like that causing a problem, you can only imagine the immense complications that could happen from something like engine modification. A good example in the BMW would be these mirrors, for example. So what did I do? I took the bar ends off. I got some new bar ends that screw in, and when you screw it in, there's an expandable piece inside that opens up and affixes the bar end external piece to the inside of the bar. And then what's supposed to happen when you loosen it up, this collapses and you pull them off. Well, the problem is it worked a few times, but now they're stuck. So in short, I got more bar vibration than stock, and I can't get these bar ends off, probably without drilling them out, which of course runs the risk of me screwing up my handlebars and needing to replace the bar. So it's a small pain in the butt, but it's the simplest thing you can imagine. So no mod goes unpunished. And on that note, we'll see if replacing this oil cap here with stock will remove the oil spray, oil leak problem. Off we go. So I can't speak for the entire country, but I can tell you that in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Washington D.C., Maryland, Virginia, Arizona, and multiple cities in California, the whole southern end, if you're gonna buy a motorcycle and you're wondering whether or not to get something with a lower output that easily does highway speeds, or something that is on its higher end doing highway speeds, like smaller supermotos, 300s, things of that nature, even a 600, unless you're really ringing the thing out. Every car in front of me right now passed me pretty quickly while I was doing 75 miles an hour. This road is a 55-mile-an-hour limit, and I'm doing almost 80 right now. All these cars past are doing 80 plus. And for some reason they slowed down. I don't know why. This guy next to me is gonna pop back out and pass me again. But what I'm trying to get at is, it's just not safe if you buy a bike that's uncomfortable doing 70 or 80 miles an hour, meaning the thing's ringing out and you don't have a lot of juice left after that. If you're just learning and you don't plan on going on the highway, or you're taking 1 or 2 exits in the low speed lane, it's acceptable. But otherwise, watch yourself, man. Just buy a bike with more power, ride it gently off the highway. But at least when you graduate, inevitably you're gonna have to get on a highway. In any of those places I listed, and I suspect the majority of the country, where people readily do 20 miles an hour plus the speed limit, you're not going to be getting whipped by it. Every time a car passes you, it's a risk. I don't think the biggest risk is people just slamming into you while you're on a motorcycle. I think it's possible, but it's really unlikely. if you're smaller, if you sit in the middle of the lane, you're probably less likely to get randomly clipped than a car, because a car may drift, but as a bike, you get a few feet on either side to recognize it and the car to recognize it across the lanes. Whereas, you know, a car that takes up most of the lane, you're going to get bumped into. But it's still, you can't ignore the fact that every time someone passes you at that pace, it's another opportunity. And so you find yourself getting whipped by a bunch of cars. You want to either put yourself in a place where cars aren't passing so quickly, meaning you want the power to get out of that situation, or you just want to keep up with them and just stop the passing. If everyone's going that speed, you know, law enforcement's not going to stop, you know, a dozen cars going the same speed. So just food for thought. I was talking to a neighbor recently. He's been buying and fixing, you know, 300 slow displacement bikes. I don't think it really goes on the highway, so it's cool and he's getting to learn, but as I've told him, you get more comfortable and you want to get on that highway and go for longer rides. It's better to have the power and not need it than to need it and not have it. And that doesn't just mean, oh, my R6 is 120 horsepower. No, it means if your R6 is low in its RPM range, you're doing 70. And people whipping by you. You have to work to keep that thing in its power range. And then it's twitchy. So you gotta rev the hell out of it and be ready to do it. If you're ready to rev the hell out of it, then have a blast. You have all the power you need. But if you want to casually just squeeze the throttle and boost yourself out of any situation, many times it's not going to happen. You have to go searching for that power. And there's 300s, I mean, forget about it. I can tell you that on the Yamaha FC07, which was my first bike, I was surprised. It did have boost at highway speed, but it was just generally uncomfortable. It was very light. And if you get hit with high winds, I remember in LA a couple of times, I felt like I was being blown around the road. It's just not the most confidence inspiring. So the weight of the bike, you know, which tends to go along with engine displacement, are things to consider. It felt a little sketchy, and I was a newer rider too, so you gotta factor that in. But still, even something that's got pretty decent power. I think the thing has, I think it has 70-something horsepower and, I don't know, 50 torque. Excuse me if I'm way off, but you know, they're not horrible numbers, especially for a beginner bike. It's actually pretty powerful. I found myself wanting something more stable at highway speed. A drippy nozzle at a gas station, you know, the kind that drips as soon as you pull it off its holder, drips all over your bike. Then when you finish up, you pull it out and it's still dripping. Yeah, one thing I mentioned a couple of videos ago was a transition from gasoline engines, regular combustion engines, to electric. I think the car world has seen it for a while. And they're noticing how popular the Teslas have become for many reasons, and the major manufacturers now jumping on the bandwagon. And just like with cars and motorcycles, a lot of the same benefits, especially now that we have batteries with increasing range. And what I foresee, I'm sure many of you guys do as well, is, you know, companies like Harley and all the other big names, Japanese bikes, transitioning into offering, you know, one electric model to two to half electric to mostly electric, and at some point many of these manufacturers won't offer combustion engines anymore. motorcycles are a bit unique, so there's a lot of sales for recreation, so they don't have to be as practical as a car for many people, of course. They don't have to be as reliable or simple. But if you put your ear to the ground, you realize that some of the biggest questions people have about new bikes when they come out are how much they cost and how reliable they are, and whether or not they're making a good investment, and whether or not they're going to regret their purchase because the thing's breaking down on them. And that's one thing that electric bikes are going to offer. They're going to have to be more reliable. There's just so many fewer parts. They're so much more simple in their design, and even maintenance. They're just going to last longer and be less of a fuss. There's a lot of downsides too, mainly, the drama and personality of these engines, different types of engines. So that's a big drawback in my opinion. But man, I think the cost of production is going to be low or lower long term. So they're going to be able to come in and offer better performance. You're going to get all this torque right off the bat. So these things are going to take off like a demon for a relatively cheap price. And they're going to be ultra reliable. And for a lot of people, it's going to make sense. So I've been cautious about the new bike purchases because I'm curious about what's out there. I'm also wanting to experience the combustion engines while they're still around and still appreciated. But for some people it might make sense to look out for these new electric bikes coming out. A lot of them already have the performance that you want and the range. I mean, these gas bikes, man, even a bigger tank like this. I know this thing's a guzzler, so it's not a good example, but the bikes that are meant for touring, what are you gonna get? Tops 200 to 300 miles. And a lot of these cars coming out are breaking 300 miles regularly. And what does that mean for motorcycles? Well, it means if they're not already there, they're gonna be there pretty soon. Interesting times. We're going to see some transition. I'm curious about where it's going to go. But it's an interesting time to live because we're going to see a major transition in transportation. Hopefully more than just electric versus combustion. These ultra fast underground city connectors with use of magnets and vacuum chambers. Another interesting development. It's a good time to be alive. Woo! It's amazing when you get in the shade, it feels like 50. In the sun, it feels like it's 80. It's like stepping into a freezer. Brought my daughter to this little Christmas themed light party at a botanical garden last night, and it was really funny because I swear it couldn't have been less than 60 outside, and I'm seeing large grown men wearing those puffy jackets that are meant to keep you warm in sub-zero temperatures. There's more than one of those hanging around. Unbelievable. Scarves, the whole 9 yards. People behaving oddly in California. There's a complete intolerance of anything less than 70 degrees. And there's also a complete intolerance amongst people for anything greater than 90 degrees. So people are operating like a 20-degree range around here. It's a spoiled state, at least the southern half, very spoiled. And I felt horrible when I'm here. I'm showing my daughter, trying to give my daughter the concept of Christmas. She's so young, she's a toddler. And they have this little, toddler snow patch. It's basically like a 15 by 15 foot box with some snow dumped into it that of course is, pretty icy and wet. It's just not ideal. She's going nuts like it's the best thing on earth, which makes me happy, but it's also a bit sad. Gonna have to show the girls some real weather. I'm of the because I grew up in an area that had deeper seasons. I think a little bit of suffering builds character, even if that means being exposed to uncomfortable weather in both directions. Make sure to appreciate the sunny days. I'm already in a place where I don't appreciate the sunny days. I've only lived here for a few years, but they're so frequent. You don't get that elation when you see a beautiful day, I still have the sense of opportunity whenever it's a nice day outside, which is almost always, because you always want to do something, but that real appreciation for the moment, there's something lost there. Too much pampering is never a good thing. That's why if you're climbing 122, you're gonna beat yourself up in other ways, make yourself hurt, get to know pain a little bit. You don't have to be a freak and cut your own legs, but So what am I doing today on that note? Well, I was riding out here and I've been eating too regularly recently, so I'm going to starve myself for half the day just to be uncomfortable. I think I'm joking, but I'm not. I'm a sick, twisted individual. I'm not going to eat all day. So I think that's how we evolved, and you should feel the pain a little bit. Then, even though I have a good, steady job, and I'm settled in my professional career, I'm going to go home and force myself to study something that is difficult for several hours. Yesterday I was squatting over and over again. My ass hurts so much today I can't walk. But, it's those little things that you do, at least that I do, that help keep me moving. Or at least help perpetuate my own insanity. I was just stopped by Bank of America. Just saw someone pop up here, get some cash. I just squeezed in an errand. How efficient of me. You can see the old mocks down here. That's what I wiped off already. The fresh stuff is so obvious when you see it. I mean, it's just wet, it's just oil, and it's blatant. And it's always down here on the case, running down here, sprayed on this part of the pipe, and even back here to some extent. I think it's shooting out here, the wind's catching some, if it doesn't stick here, and just swinging it back. This is all old as well. So, yeah. No mod goes unpunished. That's some true wisdom there. So think twice about messing with your bike. You're probably going to pay for it, as small as it is.